Welcome everyone to another episode of Slasher Scotty. I am your host, Scotty McCoy, and boy do I have a surprise for you. I have the actor that plays Charlie Dale on Days of Our Lives, Michael Manning, on the phone. Hello Michael, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing great. I'm super excited for this interview. When your agent got back to me, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. This is like awesome. I really wanted to interview you since I saw you first appear on Days.
Yeah. No, thanks for caring about Charlie and on days and reaching out.
Not a problem. So the first question I have for you is, how did you get your start into acting?
Okay, we're going back there. Yeah. So I've been acting since I was little. I grew up in Colorado, and I did like community theater and high school theater, and when I was younger. But to me, I didn't know any actors, and so like in my universe, it wasn't even a possibility to be a professional actor. So I knew I loved it, and I
Right.
knew I did it for fun, but I never actually realized that I could make a living doing it. And then it was actually in college. I took a semester off and worked at Disney World, and I was like doing some other entertainment things. But I was going to school for business, and I followed a friend of mine to an audition for Real World, the reality show,
Hmm.
and ended up getting on the show. I followed my best friend. I had never seen the show before. Followed him to get him on the show. I ended up getting on the show, did the show, and then I had agents and managers in LA that watched the show and reached out to me and told me, convinced me to move out to Los Angeles.
That's so awesome. It's really great. And speaking of, you have another movie coming out next week. I believe your agent said February 5th. It's a Spike Lee movie. So would you be able to tell us what the movie is about, who you play in it, and when and where people can see it?
Yeah. So it comes out February 5th, like you said,
Okay.
on VOD and online. And I think, a couple, some drive-in theaters. But as we know, the pandemic has
Mm-hmm.
closed so many theaters right now. But yeah, Spike Lee is the executive producer. Barry Alexander Brown is the director.
Okay.
And it's a really great project because it's based on a book called The Wrong Side of Murder Creek,
Okay.
about sort of the main character and his how he went from essentially the film talks about the birth and evolution of the civil rights movement
Mm-hmm.
in the Deep South in the
Okay.
60s, and how this white college student became an activist and one of the first white activists in this movement. And so it tells, it has Rosa Parks in there, and Cedric the Entertainer plays Reverend Abernathy, and then Lucas Till and plays the lead,
Mm-hmm.
Bob Zellner, who the story's about.
Right.
But it's such a deep and rich story, and in the film we have scenes with the KKK, and we have riots, and we have
Okay.
so many of these things that took place in the Deep South in our country, that at least my generation, we weren't a part of. So
Mm-hmm.
we didn't really. It's one thing to read it in a history book or to hear an article about it, but it's another thing to see it on the big screen.
Right.
And for me, I can honestly say it's been one of the most meaningful projects that I've ever been a part of, just because I think that this film will continue a conversation that needs
Mm-hmm.
to be had in this country about equality and civil rights.
Exactly. Exactly. And I mean, I just don't see what is like. I know I don't even know, like, it's so hard to describe how people can't just get along based on people of their race and their sexuality and all that. Like, it boggles my mind. I spend nights thinking about it, staying up nights thinking about it. Why can't people just get along? Like, we're all humans. It
Yeah,
baffles
yeah,
me.
no, I think that with that, in terms of like race and gender and
Hmm.
sexuality and so many other things, we have made a ton of progress in this country.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that we're there. That doesn't mean that
Exactly.
we reach the end zone. There is still a lot of work to be done,
Hmm.
and that's what I hope this film, especially having a voice like Oscar winner Spike Lee behind it. I
Hmm.
think that I hope that people see this film and it encourages them to continue that conversation.
Exactly. I really hope it does. And I mean, having you and Spike Lee and everybody that's a part of this project, that is a huge way to get people start talking,
Hmm.
getting people in the industry to actually, start bringing awareness to this. It reaches a wider demographic than simply just a random person. You know what I mean? Just It just that's the way I see it, anyways.
Yeah, well, and also having Lucas. So Lucas Till, he's people might recognize him from the show MacGyver.
Mm-hmm.
He plays MacGyver,
Yeah.
and so he plays the lead in this. He plays Bob Zillner,
Okay.
and I play Townsend Ellis, his best friend,
Okay.
and and then just to see the journey that Lucas goes through in this film, it makes it really relatable because a lot of times people are scared of getting involved. They're scared
Mm-hmm.
of civil rights. They're scared of, they don't want to cause a fuss.
Yeah.
And it takes a certain type of person to, I think, become an activist, or, at least that's
Mm-hmm.
what a lot of people think. In this film, Lucas does such a great job at not trying, not approaching this being like, oh, I'm going to be an activist, I'm going to change everybody's mind. He just approaches it like, I'm a good person and I want to do something good and help
Right.
people. And then he gets pulled further and further into the movement.
Okay, awesome. This sounds like a really good movie. I guarantee you, I'm gonna be one of them that's gonna be watching this. I don't know if it'll be in a drive-in anywhere near me, but I'll definitely get a video on demand for sure. Because I
Yeah,
definitely would like to
please.
see this. I think this will be something good for everybody to definitely see, and we'll definitely come back to this and obviously hype it up at the end of the interview as well as any other projects you have. But I definitely think this is a project that needs to be told, and I'm glad it is.
Thank you.
You're,
Thank you. Yeah.
you're welcome.
And Brian Dennehy, too, the late, great Brian Dennehy, who just
Hmm.
passed away, I think a couple months ago. It's
Yeah.
one of his last films, and
Okay.
he gives a great performance. So if anybody's a fan of Brian's out there, then they'll want to see this one.
That's awesome. So obviously, I'm gonna jump right into the Days of Our Lives controversial part of the questions. We know where this is going. So obviously, your character was revealed to have been the rapist of Allie Horton, and right before we went live, I when on the before I started recording, I mentioned to you that today's episode was when Allie was hypnotized and they revealed how the whole thing started, and with Charlie raping Allie. So the first question I have is, what was it like filming the flashback scenes of Charlie raping Allie, and did it affect you in any way after the scenes were filmed?
Yeah, I can honestly say that I was sick when I first read the script. I was sick the day before. I couldn't really sleep. While we were filming, I felt sick the whole time, and then the next day I felt sick the whole time. So it really did affect me.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with Lindsay Arnold, who plays Allie,
Hmm.
and I said, Lindsay, like, I want you to feel safe and to feel comfortable while we're doing this. I
Right.
was like, what can I do? Like, how far do you want to go? And we sort of talked about it and we agreed, like, we had to make it at least, I mean, it's NBC, it's daytime television, so you
Right.
can't take it so far, but we at least had to make it uncomfortable, and we at least had to make it violent and mean and malicious, because that's
Right.
what happens to some of these people. And if
Yeah.
we tried to just make it seem nice or sugar coated or whatever, then that's
Hmm.
not doing those stories justice. And and I do thank the writers that, like, at least they gave me the room to explore Charlie as a three-dimensional character.
Right.
And at the very least, at the end of the day, I think people, they know what he did, but they understand why he did it. They understand where that damage
Hmm.
comes from. And so I think, at least I have that. At least I know that people understand where Charlie's coming from, and I
Hmm.
tried to bring that to him as an actor. But to film those scenes, it was extremely difficult and uncomfortable, and
Right.
but we had to.
Right, and just watching the scene today, like I said, I watched it literally. I finished it about an hour ago because I wanted to do my homework on it, and I work until 2 o'clock. So, I actually took my lunch break to watch it. I'm teleworking because of the pandemic, but I took my lunch break just so I can watch it, so I can kind of do my homework because I knew that scene was airing today, and I wanted to. And just watching you and Lindsay doing this scene, I'm sure she felt the same way you did, and the fact that you both are amazing actors, just to, you don't even show that you're so uncomfortable and sick to your stomach because you're doing your job, obviously, but you did the scene justice. And like, obviously nobody wants to see a rape happen, but bringing awareness to this, because this happens to a lot of women and even to men, and they don't nobody really, they're afraid to come out about it, they're afraid to talk about it, they're afraid they're not going to be believed. So bringing, this to attention, and Lindsay portraying it like this happened, and she's telling it about what happened, it just shows that everybody has a voice, and everybody should be at least listened to, taken seriously.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah. So when you were signed on to Days of Our Lives, did you know that it was going to be your character revealed as the rapist of Allie? And if not, when did you find out?
So, if I'm being honest, I did not know. I was, when I signed on for the role. Well, first, that's a funny story because I found out about the role in March. I found out about that I was cast in March, and then I signed a contract, and then 3 days later, the pandemic happened, and everything was shut down. And I couldn't tell anybody about it because, like, I didn't know. Number one, I didn't know if I would have the role, if how long the pandemic was going to last, if they would change their minds, whatever that was. And number two, my parents and my family, they're awful at keeping secrets. So I knew that I would tell my mom, and then she would tell all her friends, and everybody would know. And so I really sat for 6 months during the shutdown, knowing that I had this role, but I couldn't really tell anybody.
Right.
It was like stressful because I couldn't take other jobs. I really wanted it to work out, but I had no idea. And then when I finally they called me up and they were like, Michael, we're going to start shooting. I had a conversation with the one of the head writers and producers, and they told me, they said, Mike, this character has a dark past, and he attacked someone, and that was really it. I didn't know what that attack meant. I didn't know how deep it was. I didn't really know where the character was going until we had started filming. I mean, maybe like a month or two into it, and then it was revealed to me what actually happened, and I was like, I just remember driving home being like, oh no, oh man. So, but at that point, I had already fallen in love with the cast and the show, and Charlie and everything. So, I had to keep going. But it was a shock to me.
And I mean, it is Days of Our Lives, so like the fact that Charlie started out so clumsy, and like he was like so sweet and innocent, you're like, this is too perfect to be true.
Well, and I knew that Charlie wasn't sweet and innocent, so I did that on purpose. I really made him awkward and insecure, and every time I approach a scene, or every time I approach a character, I really want to find what makes the most sense in terms of being truthful. And for me, like, I think the reason why he was so awkward and nervous in the beginning is because, truthfully, setting aside the fact that he was spying on Titan for his mom and doing all these other things, I think that Titan, like, working at Titan was a job that he got himself. It's probably the first job he got for himself, and he genuinely wanted to do a good job and impress his mom and get information. So he didn't want to get fired. So he was nervous about, doing a good job. And then with Claire, on the flip side, Charlie might have done all these bad things, but it was because he's never been loved before. And he met Claire, and he fell in love with Claire. And when you fall in love with somebody and you're experiencing something for the first time, of course you are nervous and you don't want to make a mistake and whatever else. So even though Charlie had this hidden past, he was he's Ava's son. He's a Vitali. He comes from a mob family. He does, he did some of these bad things. He's also a young man getting to do other things for the first time and really wanting. I think at his core, Charlie really wanted to do a good job. He wanted.
I agree. I completely agree with that.
Else. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, I personally, even when it was revealed that he raped Allie, I'm like, he made a mistake, a bad mistake, like a very bad one that traumatized somebody, and he should pay that mistake to society, you know what I mean? But like, I think when he found Claire and he fell in love with Claire and he got this job, like he genuinely wanted to do good for himself. Like this one horrible mistake he made in the past, and it's coming back to haunt him. And it's the fact is that he wanted to change his life around, but then everything started to bring it forward, like Ava, and she figured it out, and now it's like he's making all these different mistakes just to cover up what he did. And I think he genuinely, once he met Claire and all that, he genuinely like wanted to have a good future, and this mistake from his past just wouldn't stop haunting him.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's reality too. We all do things that we
Yeah.
wish we could take back and
Yeah.
we can't. So,
Exactly.
we just have to face the consequences.
Exactly. So let's see. So what was your initial reaction finding out that you'll be involved in such a big real storyline that'll affect a lot of people worldwide? Like obviously you described a little bit of it, but can you go like were you thinking of like I guess this is gonna be something that's gonna give me backlash or anything like that?
Yeah, so when I first found out that Charlie was the one who assaulted Allie, I it was like I said, it was a month or two in, and from when the show was
Mm-hmm.
airing. Um, let's see, no, it was okay. So I think the show had just started airing,
Okay.
and I was getting like there were so many fans reaching out on Twitter and Instagram and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and being like, "Oh, we love Charlie. He's adorable. He's such a great addition to Salem," and they were very kind to me as Charlie. And in the back of my mind, there was that feeling like, "Oh, great! When they find out what he did, they're gonna turn on me. They're gonna hate me. They're gonna hate Mike. They're gonna think that
Right.
Mike's a bad guy too, and everything else." And so I planned for that, and I have to say actually that while people understand that what he did was awful, and I am not discounting what he did to Allie whatsoever. It was an awful, awful thing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have reached out to me and said, "You know what, Mike? Like we know that Charlie did an awful thing, but at least you worked really hard to bring humanity to that character and to
Mm-hmm.
really like show us that he's a broken character really trying to do good things." And
Right.
we almost sympathize with him a little bit,
Right.
or I guess empathize with him in terms of like why he did what he did.
Mm-hmm.
And so the backlash was not as negative as I thought it would be, because I feel like a lot of people understand
Right.
that that he did something bad because he's a broken person.
Right, and especially like with you, like I would hate to see you getting like, because I heard some cast members in the past have gotten like death threats and everything like that because their characters do these evil, vile things, and it's like they're acting. Like, don't take it out on the actor, like take it out on the character. You know what I mean? Like, don't
Mm-hmm.
bring it to. It's not the actors just doing what isn't what the the screenwriters wrote, and they're doing their job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Let's see. So, what was it like working with the likes of Lindsay Arnold, Lucas Adams, Robert Scott Wilson, Isabel Duran, and Tamara Braun?
Yeah, so Tamara is just amazing, and I'm so lucky that she, is playing my mother, and that I had to
Mm-hmm.
tackle some of those more emotional scenes, and that she was the one that I was working with, because
Right.
she's such a great actress, and she's
Mm-hmm.
so giving as an actor, and I think that we immediately, when we met on set, she gave me a hug, and we were talking as people, and we built that chemistry of
Right.
mother and son. And I think that it brought a new level of emotion to those scenes
Yes.
that would have otherwise been missing. And then same thing with Isabel. I think Isabel, I know that she's a new addition for Claire, but
Yeah.
she's such a great actress, and there were so
Mm-hmm.
many moments that she and I were discovering together, and it really gave you the feeling that these are two people that are figuring out love for the first time.
Right.
and so she was great. And then Lucas was actually a buddy of mine. I've known Lucas for years.
Nice.
He and I have been buddies in LA for years. When I found out I got the job, he's actually somebody I reached out to, and I was like, hey man. And this is before I even knew that we were half brothers on the show. I reached out to him and I was like, hey man, can we grab dinner and just can I pick your brain about the show? Like, what's it like working with these people? Because I didn't want to be like the new kid in school,
right?
Showing up on my first day not knowing anybody. So I reached out to him and we actually talked. And it's funny, our very first meeting, he actually knew more about Charlie than I knew about Charlie, and so we're talking and stuff, and he actually. I can say this now because it's funny, but we're sitting there talking, and he goes, "Oh yeah, especially because like Charlie and Trip are related." And I was like, "Wait, what are you talking about?" and he goes, "Oh crap, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said anything." So but Lucas has been a buddy of mine, and so I'm just really grateful that I got to work with him so much.
That's awesome. And it's funny that you mentioned Lucas because I actually reached out to him, I think around the same time I reached out to you. And I didn't hear back from him yet, but I reached out to him on Instagram because I couldn't find nothing on IMDb. That's where I got your information, was on IMDb Pro. But I reached out to Lucas on Instagram and I haven't heard anything, but obviously he probably gets a lot of messages, I would assume, to begin with. And plus working currently on days, I don't even know how they are allowed, if they're allowed to do interviews, if they're like, if they have to get approval. I don't know any of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know I could be wrong, but I'm currently shooting on days right now. So
okay.
And I'm doing an interview.
That's true.
I think we can. I just,
okay.
I don't. I think it's a personal preference, or maybe he just doesn't do them.
He probably didn't even get the message because, first of all, he doesn't follow me on there. So the fact is, the message probably goes into the other inbox that's like hidden in like a different part of Instagram, and I hate that. So he might not even have even gotten it. And that was actually one of my questions: was if you wrapped up your stint on Days of Our Lives, or if you're sticking around.
Yeah, well, I don't want to ruin any story points for anybody, so I can't really get into that. But I am still on the show as of right now.
Awesome. That is great news. I'm excited about that because even, like I said, even though Charlie does that dastardly thing, like, I absolutely love that character. And I really think Charlie and Claire make such a cute couple. I really do.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah, I in a perfect world, I wish that he could repair things with Claire. But if he were going to do that, he would have a long way to go just because she feels so betrayed by him lying to her so much.
Absolutely. So what was the best part about, while filming Days of Our Lives?
I mean, there have been so many great moments there, to be honest. There have been so many, I've never been on a show where every single day it's working with, it's working on so much material, working with new actors and everybody. It moves so fast that, it's almost like theater. Like you're just thrown into it and you get, one or two takes and you just go and and it's a trust exercise between you and the other actor. And you're finding these moments on the fly and then you just give it your best and then you pack up and you do it the next day. And so it's been a really challenging but also really exciting experience for me just to work on a show that moves that quickly. And also, there have been plenty of experiences that I've had on set that have been first for me. Like my very first week of work, I got a smoothie spilled on me, and that was two times. Two times. Scenes. And so the very first week, everybody's spilling smoothies on me, and I'm standing around in the cold and with juice in my armpit and everything. And it was. And again, we only have so many changes of clothes. You have to get the shot in one or two takes.
Right.
And I was just like, okay, let's see what happens. And it was actually Paul Telfer, Xander, who had to hit me with the smoothie the first time. And he actually does this thing where he pulls his elbow back and then it goes all over me. And he and we rehearsed it one time, and I was like, oh man, I hope we get this. And this is our first day working together. I was like, man, I hope we get this because I only have one shirt. And he was like, look, Mike, you just have to, you'll get used to it, but you just have to go for it on the show, and you just have to trust that everything's going to work out. And that was sort of a lesson that I took from the first week, and I've taken it throughout the whole series. Is just showing up, doing your best, and trusting that everything's gonna work out.
Right, exactly. So like any like I guess that would be one of them, but any good behind the scenes stories like that happened with you, the cast or anything?
Well, it's interesting because with COVID and everything,
Yeah.
the restrictions have been pretty. There have been a lot of restrictions,
Mhm.
and so I haven't had that much time to socialize with the cast like I normally would.
Yeah.
Most of like our rehearsals and talking and everything is on FaceTime, like on our phones.
Right.
So I have developed some great friendships, and every time I work with with Drake or with Paul or with some of the goofballs on set, we always tell jokes and stuff, and that's really great.
Right.
But unfortunately, so much of our socializing offset has been like on FaceTime and
Absolutely.
social media.
And that was actually my next question about COVID-19. It's still taking place. Obviously, you said you're still filming the scene. You're still filming with Days. So, like, what are the measures that the COVID measures that take place when you enter the studio and when you're on set and all that?
Yeah, so it's I mean, they want to keep everybody safe, and I will
Hmm.
say that the producers have done a really good job at that,
Great.
at creating that bubble so that you show up and you get tested in the morning, you have a negative COVID test, and then you go about your day and you're wearing a mask the whole time unless you're shooting,
Hmm.
and then everybody's like in their own dressing room, so they have us secluded as much as possible, and then they test us all the time, um, and that's been a way that they've been able to keep production open
Right.
because they don't they don't relax on those restrictions at all. It's for everybody's safety.
Absolutely. And when it comes to COVID, because you don't know which family members have, other family, like which cast members have family members that, that have diseases, like whether it's cancer or they're older or whatever. And you don't want to put anybody in jeopardy or let alone, make this spread even further. So, like, when it comes
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
safety, like, there's no way you should be lenient on that at all. Not at all. So I have a question actually that I'm still good friends with my former boss. But I've been she's been my boss like over 10 years ago at Kmart when I worked there. So she had a question that she wanted me to ask you that she read somewhere and it didn't air yet. So if you can't say anything, even if you want to do a
Mhm.
teaser or even if you can't say anything at all, that's fine. But she noticed that you get triggered when you're something about your glasses either being on or off. Something I guess like a split personality. Do you have any insight on this?
So I did. That's a good question, and I have to answer this carefully. No, but I did make the glasses, and this is a conversation I had with the writers. Is like the glasses are symbolic of when Charlie feels comfortable
Hmm.
and when Charlie is being himself and when he's not being himself. So the glasses are when he wears the glasses when he's either doing something that is he knows he's not supposed to be doing, or
Okay.
he's lying, or he's nervous and he's like trying to put up a front, and then the glasses come off when he sort of the walls are down and he's being Charlie 100%,
Okay.
whether he's angry or in the moment or he's been caught with something. The glasses come off essentially like when the gloves come off, and it's like,
Right.
okay, this is me. I'm not going to lie anymore.
Right.
So, or when he feels comfortable, I think that there are moments with Claire that he really feels in love, and the glasses come off, and he's almost like showing her who he is and his
Right.
true self. And so that's absolutely what it is. I can't really comment on any split personalities or anything else like that.
Okay.
But the glasses were used in specific moments for specific reasons.
And that makes the character just that more complex with so many more layers, which is really exciting because it brings more depth to him, and I really like that idea of incorporating that to his character.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad that they gave me the glasses to work with. I'm a huge Superman fan,
Yeah.
and for me, it was almost like this sick and twisted, like Clark Kent Superman kind of thing. And
That's awesome.
so it was a lot of fun to work with.
That's awesome. Now, you don't have to answer this part because this isn't really a question. This is going to be me going off interviewer mode and on to fan mode, and I'm going to make a guess. I'm just saying this on the air to see if I'm right or wrong in the future, but I'm going to make a guess that the glasses are going to be a way that they're going to find out that Charlie actually like is doing all this bad stuff. I'm going to go there. Like I know, obviously Allie is going to confess and everything, but I think the glasses are going to come into it. That's just me guessing. I'm going to see if I'm right.
Oh, okay, all right.
So the last question I got for you is, do you have any projects, websites, social media accounts, or anything else at all that you'd like to let the listeners know so they can keep up with your career and the amazing work you do?
Yeah, absolutely. My website is mikemanning.info,
Okay.
and that just has like some press articles and info about me. And then my social media on everything is just Mike C. Manning.
Okay.
There was already a Mike Manning out there, so I had to throw my middle name in there. So it's just Mike C. Manning
Okay.
on social media.
Awesome. Sounds great. Well, I thank you so much for your time, Mike.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks
Awesome.
for chatting with me, and this was a lot of fun.
No problem. And before I let you go, I just want to let everybody know that I'll be posting this with like a picture of you from days on the new YouTube channel I created for Scotty, as well as the audio version going on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere that you can listen to these. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you found it. So give me a like, a comment, subscribe on YouTube, and I thank you again for your time. It's been an honor to interview you, and I definitely look forward to seeing what the future holds for you and how the Spike Lee movie comes out, and I look forward to everything, and it's been an honor.
Thank you very much, Scotty. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
You stay safe, all right?
You too.
All right, thank you. Bye.
All right, bye.